Hi, in this next project we are going to start working on creating some characters, and the way that we are going to go about that is just starting with this panda character, and we will work our way up from there. You will have plenty of opportunity to create your own characters, but first we are just going to learn some different techniques that you can use when you are creating your own characters. Okay, so here will be about the finished result. Yours might look just a little bit different than mine, but that will be about what it will look like. We are going to start in Illustrator by creating a new document. So that document will be 4 inches by 4 inches. So width and height are both 4 inches. Hit create, color mode RGB. Okay, and there is my new blank document. So in that document, I'm going to start out by creating an ellipse. I'm just going to click and drag and create an ellipse while holding the shift key. I'm going to eliminate the stroke, so no stroke. It's just filled with white right now. In this project, we are going to practice using gradients a lot, and we're going to use the direct selection tool just a little bit that we haven't really used before. So right now I have my circle created. I'm going to actually change the color of that so that you're able to see it for right now. We will change it to a normal color in just a minute here. But just so you can see it, I made it blue. I'm going to choose my direct selection tool, which is that white arrow. I'm just going to click on my ellipse that I just created until I see my anchor point. So I have 4 anchor points on this ellipse. Those are shown with those the little squares that are on the top, bottom, and either side of my ellipse. I just click on that bottom one on my anchor, and I'm going to pull that up. I want to see that fuchsia or magenta line popping up. That way I know I'm pulling it straight up. If I were over to the side, my panda would get a little bit crooked, which I guess wouldn't be necessarily a bad thing depending on what kind of character you're trying to make. But I'm just going to make mine go straight up, and I'll put it somewhere around there. So just bring that bottom anchor point up just a little bit, about 1/4 of the way up, somewhere around there. Now I'm going to change the fill for my shape here. So I'm going to choose my gradient tool, and when you do that, you should see your gradient options pop up over here. We are going to make the first color in our gradient a white, so we're going to leave that white. And then the second one, we are going to make a light gray. So just double click on that little swatch. If your swatches look like this, just click on your, if you have all your color palette there, you can click on this other option and it will give you some actual color swatches in there. And we're just going to choose a light gray. The color of gray that you choose is up to you. I'm going to choose one of these middle ones. I kind of like the little bit darker one, but you could go with this next lighter one if you want to. Actually, I'm going to go with that lighter one. Okay, I want to change my gradient so that it's radial instead of linear, and I get to that right in this drop down right here. And I can also in here adjust kind of the way my gradient looks. So if I click on this little diamond that's right above my gradient, I can click that and drag that around. And when I drag it to the right, that means that my resulting gradient has more of this first color and less of the second color. If I drag this over to the left, then we're getting more of that second color. So just so you know how to adjust that, if that is not an option right away, just click on this little diamond again and it should let you move it around. Okay, so I'm pretty happy with that, just like that. Okay, the next thing I'm going to do is I am going to create this guy's ears. All I'm going to do that is I'm going to copy the shape that I just made. So on my keyboard, I'm going to hit Control C, which is copy, and Control F, as in Frank, which is paste in front. You could do that way. You could also Command or Control C to copy, and then just Control V to paste, and then you would just have to position that or arrange those objects as you need to. But just so you know, that's a little shortcut. We are going to size this little guy down and pull him up to the top here. You can make that size of the ear or the shape of the ear kind of however you want, as long as it's sort of panda ear shaped. And then I'm going to just rotate it around. So I'm going to make one ear, of course, on the left side of this guy's head, and then the other one will go on the right. I'm just going to place that into position, and I might eventually move that. I'm actually going to make that. I'll make that a little bit bigger. Okay, so about something like that. Now I'm going to change my gradient, so I still am able to see all of my gradient options here. If you don't see those, you can get to them right by clicking on this button right here, or you can click over here on your gradient tool. So you should be able to do that, access that information either or any of those ways. We are going to change this first color to black and the second color to dark gray. And again, that didn't save as linear, so I'm changing that back to linear. Okay, now I want to move that to the back, so I'm going to go to Object, Arrange, and Send. Oops, Object, Arrange, Send to back. And now that object is behind my bigger head shape. Okay, now I'm going to make the center, I'll show you right here on my original, this center little ear detail here. I'm just going to copy what I had made, so Command or Control C, Control F. Now I made a copy by hitting Control C, and then Control F again is to paste in front. I'm just going to shrink that down a little bit and rearrange it so that I like the position of it. I will shrink it down both ways, so something like that. And now I am going to just hit this reverse gradient button right here, and that reverses the gradient. So I have the same colors in my gradient, only in the opposite order. Okay, now that I have my ear shapes created, and I'm pretty happy with them, I might pull those down just a little bit. Okay, so I'm pretty happy with those now. I'm going to select both of them. So I have my selection tool, and now I am going to press and hold Shift while I click on both of those shapes. And you can see, so both of them are selected right now. When I first tried it, they didn't both get selected, but just make sure that you have both selected. We're going to hit Control C and then Control F. So Control C is copy, Control F is to paste in front, and then we are going to go to Object, Transform, and Reflect. We will choose vertical for the axis and hit OK, and there we have our copy of our ear perfectly reflected. Okay, I'm pretty happy with those ears right there. Okay, I'm going to create my eye. So I'm going to choose my ellipse tool, click and drag out an ellipse. I'm not holding the Shift key. I don't want to constrain the proportions necessarily of this one. It doesn't need to be a perfect circle. So it's a little bit taller than it is long. I'm going to create my gradient. So this will be the same as what you did for that first ear shape. So the one on the left, that first color is black. The one on the right will be a dark gray. So something just like that, and I want it to stay linear. So that's perfect just there. Now I'm going to switch to my gradient tool, and I can use what's already there, or I can start from scratch on my own. So I'm just going to click and drag down from the top and making the top part appear a little bit darker than the bottom part. Now I'm going to switch to my direct selection tool, and I'm going to move the bottom anchor point down and slightly to the left. Whoops. As you can see there, I grabbed the whole shape instead of just that anchor point. So all I'm going to do is I could undo that, so I could hit Control Z if I think I moved it at all. I don't think I moved it, so I'm okay with that. But now I have my direct selection tool. I click on an anchor point, and now when I move that, I should move just the anchor point and not the entire shape. So I'm just going to click and drag that down and to the left just a little bit. And now I'm going to do the same thing with my top anchor point. I'm going to move it to the left. I'm not moving it really up or down at all. I'm just moving that to the left. So you can see now I started with just a rounded ellipse, right? And now I'm just making adjustments to that basic shape to create a shape that I want. Okay, now we are going to choose our ellipse tool, and we're going to start building this guy's eye. So again, ellipse tool. I am going to, cancel. I'm going to click and drag out an ellipse. I'm going to press and hold the space bar to move it into position. So I want it pretty well centered. I might make that just a little bit bigger. Something like that. And now I want to fill it with a linear gradient. So I'll choose my gradient tool, and I have my options over here in my gradient panel. I'm going to use 3 color stops for this gradient. So I'm going to click on this first one, and I'm going to make that a dark gray. I'm going to just click below my gradient here and add another color stop. So if you notice, I just added that little swatch there. I'm going to change this one to black. And then that third one, I'm going to make just a little bit lighter gray. So something like that. And now I'm just going to click, I'm going to make my own gradient again. So I will click and drag down from the top. And it's pretty close to what it made it. So something like that. Then you can adjust this as you see fit, like I said, or you can make your own. So if you want to make your own, just click and drag down, whatever you need to do. All right, I'm going to switch back to my selection tool. I'm just going to click on that ellipse to make sure it's selected. I'm going to Control C and Control F that. So Control C is copy again. Control F is paste in front. You guys know that by now, right? I'm going to hold down the Shift key and scale that down just a little bit, something like that. Now I'm going to choose my eyedropper tool. So this one right here, eyedropper tool, and I'm going to click on the face of my panda. And when I do that, it automatically knows that there's a gradient there, and it applies that gradient to that shape that I just made. So mine changed nicely, and I need to make that a little bit smaller. So those are actually, that white part is going to be the white part of my panda's eye. So as you can see on this one, I made that white part a little bit smaller. On this one, I'm going to go a little bit bigger. Okay, to make the iris for my eye, I'm going to Control C and Control F, and then just size that down to about the size that I want. I'm going to change the color of my panda's eyes to blue. I am going to choose we'll go kind of a darker blue, and then this one I will make a regular cyan color. So something like that. I want to actually reverse the gradient, so I want my darker blue to be on the outside and my lighter blue to be on the inside. So I'm just going to hit this reverse gradient button right there. And now I want more of the light blue to be showing and less of the dark blue. So I'm just going to click on this diamond here, and then I'm going to drag that over to the right hand side so I can see a little bit more of the lighter blue. And that's good right there. Now I'm going to make this little guy's pupil. So I'm going to copy this. So Control C, Control F, and size that down. Again, we are practicing making gradients with this project. So normally maybe you wouldn't put this many gradients in one character, but for this one we'll make a lot of them. Okay, we are going to change now the color of our gradient to black, and we'll go dark gray. Something like that. And I'm actually going to, let's try reversing that. Okay, reverse the gradient. As you can see, it just looks a little bit different according to how you have it set up. So actually, you could probably go either way with that. I'm going to leave that so that my dark is on the outside and my light is on the inside. I'm going to zoom in, so Control plus. And now I'm just going to make some highlights in this guy's eye. So I will switch to my ellipse tool. The color I want is just white. So, oh, did you see what I just did there? I didn't deselect my selection. So I'm going to hit Control Z to step back. Sorry, one more time, Control Z to step back. I'm going to click outside of my selection, somewhere out here, and now everything should be reset. Let's see what happens. So I'm choosing my ellipse tool and switching to white. And now when I click and drag out, I should get a white ellipse. And that's exactly what's happening. So I'm going to just create 3 highlights. I'm holding my Shift key so that they're perfect circles. You don't necessarily have to do the same thing. So I'm going to zoom out here and see what it looks like. I'm going to move those around just a little bit, maybe make this bigger one just a little bit bigger. And then I'll move these over. They look like they were too evenly spaced before, and I didn't like that. So there we go. I'm good with that.